Stephen A. Smith is now going back and forth with the NABJ, and once again, he did not hold back. After the NABJ gave him a thumbs down, Stephen A. took to social media and came right back at them. And honestly, this is very on brand for Stephen A., especially when he feels like somebody is questioning his journalism. We've seen that same energy when NBA players challenge the way he covers them, and now the NABJ is getting that treatment too. Instead of letting the criticism slide, Stephen A. responds by threatening them. So yeah, the situation with Stephen A. Smith and the NABJ has definitely escalated.
Stephen A. Smith, sports analyst and political commentator. Smith has established a recurring public pattern of disparaging commentary directed at prominent black women across politics, sports, and media. Such commentary reinforces harmful narratives, undermines the fair and respectful representation of black women in public discourse, and stands in direct conflict with NABJ's long-standing commitment to accurate, responsible, and inclusive portrayals of black communities.
The NABJ released that video. Stephen A. Smith got his thumbs down, and clearly he was extremely upset with how the whole thing played out. But what really stands out is the response he posted afterward, because the tone of that message came across as a warning to the people involved. So listen closely to what Stephen A. Smith actually said, because this is where things get interesting. Stephen A. Smith wrote, "This is Christmas arriving early. The NABJ wants to call folks out. Fine, you had your turn. Now mine is coming. And make no mistake, I'm coming. Let's see who really deserves a thumbs down award when it comes to the black community after I say my piece. Remember, NABJ, you asked for it. I've shut my mouth for years, now y'all started something." That was Stephen A. Smith's response, and the line about finding out who really deserves a thumbs down when it comes to the black community is the part that immediately raises eyebrows. Because based on everything he said, it sounds like Stephen A. Smith is preparing to respond on his own platform and go after the NABJ. And we already know how he operates when he decides to dig into something. He can bring his research team into it, examine the NABJ from top to bottom, and potentially put a spotlight on individuals connected to the organization. That could include looking into accusations involving certain people or commitments that were made but ultimately didn't happen. Stephen A. Smith is clearly treating this as an opportunity to finally respond after saying he had remained quiet for 2 years. And this isn't the first time we've seen him approach a situation like this, because he handled the Jasmine Crockett situation in a similar way.
Stephen A. Smith isn't a political analyst. Stephen A. Smith is a trained SEAL who's only good at 2 things: barking at black personalities in the media and clapping for his handlers. And I'll give you 3 things about it. Thing number 1, Stephen A. Smith and his forehead took to his podcast to criticize Jasmine Crockett for her work defending black America against Donald Trump and his fascist administration.
The whole situation goes back to comments Jasmine Crockett made about Donald Trump. Those remarks are what eventually drew a response from Stephen A. Smith, and after hearing what Jasmine Crockett had to say, Stephen A. Smith decided to publicly call her out over those comments.
Stop falling for the okie doke. Stop believing the lies that they are putting out there and the terrible racist tropes that they are constantly using to rile people up. It is time to recognize that while you thought the enemy was the immigrant, or you thought the enemy was the trans person, or you thought that the enemy was the black folk, or you thought the enemy were the women, when the reality is that the only person that is harming you right now, if you are struggling to make sure that you can pay your bills, if you're struggling to feed your family, if you are struggling to find a job, if you are struggling to keep your business open, or if you are a farmer, while we currently have record level bankruptcies by farmers, it is not any of those people on the list. It is the old white Nepo baby that is sitting in the White House that is causing all the destruction, pain, and problems that you are enduring.
How Jasmine Crockett chooses to express herself, I'm like, is that gonna help your district in Texas? Aren't you there to find a way to get stuff done as opposed to just being an impediment to what Trump wants? How much work goes into that? I'm just gonna go off about Trump, cuss him out every chance I get, say the most derogatory, incendiary things imaginable, and that's my day's work. That ain't work. Work is saying that's the man in power. I know what his agenda is. I'm not exactly in a position to stop him since the Republicans have the Senate and the House. But maybe if I'm willing to work with this man, I might get something out of it for my constituency. Because like Joe Manchin said, he's there to represent, or was there for 15 years to represent, the people of West Virginia. She's supposed to be there to represent the people of Texas. I don't know, maybe that just sounds ignorant because it's so simple. But it ain't that damn complicated. We make it complicated. Damn, it's frustrating. It really can be.
This is the same coded critique that's been used against black people, especially black women, since forever. It's respectability politics wrapped in his ESPN theatrics. Stephen A. Smith is policing tone on behalf of people who can't stand seeing power in the hands of black women. Thing number 2, Stephen A. Smith has spent years perfecting this exact same brand for ESPN. Always a shitload of smoke for black athletes saying what the white executives who pay him were too scared to say out loud. It's the same energy now, it's the same conditioning, but he's directing it at black politicians now instead of black athletes. He's not a political thinker, he's a weaponized performer. Thing number 3, Stephen A. Smith isn't analyzing power, he's serving it. He's always the loudest voice in the room that never barks at the hand that feeds him, only now the people that are feeding him are the 1% and MAGA. He's been trained to entertain and antagonize, making white audiences feel comfortable with black conflict. The only thing that's changed is who signs the check.
Stephen A. Smith clearly saw the backlash coming his way, and now he's responding to all of it. So let's take a look at what Stephen A. Smith had to say about the situation on his podcast. Here's where he stands after everything that happened.
But I felt compelled to come on the air a little bit earlier this week after what I've had to endure this weekend. What I had to endure this weekend were an abundance of people talking a whole lot of stuff about me because they did not like what I had to say about Representative Jasmine Crockett. She is a Democrat out of Texas, Texas's 30th congressional district. Her work, and her verbiage and all of that stuff speaks for itself. And she has become, a big-time public figure in essence, not just as a representative, but speaking out on a plethora of issues involving the current administration and the White House, et cetera, et cetera. And I made some noise last week because I had the temerity, the unmitigated gall, to say this about Representative Crockett when talking about the state of our politics in the midst of a government shutdown, by the way, that has unfolded since October 1st. Brilliant black woman representing over 750,000 people is engaging in verbiage and rhetoric for the streets. And that's fine when you're in the streets. How many of y'all bring the streets to the table when you at the negotiating table trying to get a deal done? How many of you are able to think that for a second that you're able to bring street verbiage to Capitol Hill and that's gonna work for you? You literally have senators and congressional figures on Capitol Hill on the side of the Republicans telling the networks, whether it's Fox News, News Nation, or anybody else, please, please, please put her front and center on camera. Why would they do that? Because they know it wins for them.
It took Stephen A. Smith months before he finally came forward with a heartfelt apology and admitted that he handled the Jasmine Crockett situation the wrong way. For months, he tried pushing different narratives around what happened, but ultimately none of it worked in his favor because of how he approached the situation. And that's why some people are comparing the way he dealt with Jasmine Crockett to how he's now dealing with the NABJ. Jasmine Crockett responded to things Stephen A. Smith had said about her, and from there, Stephen A. Smith appeared to take it personally before going into full attack mode. He was sitting there pointing his finger down at people and making statements that came across as threatening, and that's when the backlash really started building. People in the black community began calling him out over the way he was handling everything. Then Stephen A. Smith started explaining that he wasn't the person trying to expose Jasmine Crockett.
saying there were things he could have revealed or talked about but chose not to. But that's where the criticism came back again, because even if you say you didn't reveal those things, you're still putting the idea out there for everyone to hear. That's the part people didn't understand, because you're essentially bringing those possibilities into the conversation while saying you could have gone further. So at that point, the question becomes, are you actually trying to be a friend here, or are you coming at her as a foe? And now with the NABJ situation unfolding, people are looking at that previous situation and seeing similarities in how Stephen A. Smith responds when he feels like he's being challenged. But I want to hear what you guys think about all of this, so drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys in the next one.